Welcome to the kill-death ratio, where I count all my kills and all my deaths. Today, I'm playing A Plague Tale Requiem, Asobo Studios' follow-up to their sleeper hit A Plague Tale Innocence. Released in 2022, we pick up with Amicia and Hugo 6 months after the events of the first game as they continue traveling through France to find a way to cure Hugo's sickness. Their adventure is much larger in scope this time, seeing our heroes traverse through diverse terrain, interact with new side characters, and fight a lot more enemies as Amicia has gained many more ways to defend herself and her brother, which means a lot more kills to count, so let's go! I choose normal difficulty and begin chapter 1 with Amicia and Hugo on the run from Lucas? They get some playtime in between traveling through Provence and southeastern France. After scaring Lucas, he saunters off to go study the smell coming from his drawers while we go down to the river and make a new friend named Tonin. We eliminate the incoming army of pine cones floating down the stream until Tonin drops a bomb on all of them, but break time is over, so it's back to work for him. We continue exploring and enter the nearby castle. The wood breaks, sending the two of us tumbling. We leave the room to find the castle has been ransacked and is void of people. Well, except this beekeeper looking scary as fuck. He's ready to get violent, thinking we're part of whatever group that destroyed this place, so we run and hide just to watch some others ruthlessly kill a person trying to flee. This begins a stealth sequence somewhat similar to the opening of the first game, with the Inquisition searching for Hugo. We slip by several of them using familiar tactics until we see our boy Tonin getting choked out. Hugo's a great friend as he defends the boy, but a bad brother as he forces Amicia to fight. She gets a solid punch in, but this coward doesn't keep it fair and sucker punches her. He gets stabbed for it, but when Hugo gets knocked to the ground, we hear him summon rodent backup off screen. He faints and we cut to him on a strange beach being watched by folks. No, that's a phoenix. We follow the mythological bird to a field of flowers, and as we get closer to the tree, darkness begins sweeping over. Hugo crawls to the water, and when he touches it, the macula recedes. He thanks the phoenix and asks,
"Can I come back here? There was someone."
"I'm just a bird, dude." The dream ends and he wakes up in the back of a carriage, much to his disappointment because that place was fucking awesome. We're on our way to meet up with an alchemist who should help with Hugo's affliction, but we're stopped by a group of men searching for their nephew's killers in a nearby village. They figure out it's us and pull Amicia off, frightening the horses and leaving me behind without my sling. I sneak by them and sprint through a burning field before finding my sling and using it in a new way to gain my first kill of the game. I take out another 7 of those murdering beekeeping sons of bitches as the fire rages and the music begins to swell. Olivier Derivier returns to compose, and my god, does his team nail it. The music was so good, it forced the developers to change and elevate certain parts of the game to match the emotion and intensity of the soundtrack. I hear Beatrice's cries for help and expeditiously add this unaware bloke to the count before following her voice and smashing her captor's face in with a rock. A shaky Amicia ensures Hugo is okay, and we cut to the title card, and our heroes entering their destination to find Magister Vaudin. Hugo spots some fruit.
"I like everything here."
Hell yeah, Hugo, I'll crush that watermelon with you. We explore the town a bit until we decide to go to our new temporary home. Amicia puts Hugo to bed and then goes to remember the good old times.
I don't kill you again if I have to! I'll kill you!
The good times don't last long as Hugo begins freaking out, bringing the macula back. Lucas and I are tasked with going out to find Magister Vaudin so we can finally treat Hugo, but he's not exactly close and requires us to do a light bit of trespassing to locate him. Inside are victims of the plague and the city guards itching for a reason to kill. We sneak by plenty of them until I'm stopped near the door we need to get into. I take a chance and kill the archer using another new weapon in our arsenal, but his death alerts the others, which begins a search that ends with them pulling me out from under the table and ending our journey here for the first death of the game. I reload where I find a way around them without murder, and continue on to traverse this rickety-ass bridge that sends us to the depths where the rats reside. Another poor soul is down here to catch the great rat wave of 1349 that Amicia and Lucas barely outrun. Immediately we can see that the rat numbers are drastically increased, and that's because of the maximum number of rats on screen went from 5,000 in Innocence to 300,000 in Requiem. I take the same approach I did in the previous game and do my best to count rats individually on a separate count, but in some cases it's impossible to count them all. With that being said, I tally up 86 of them over the course of 18 minutes while Lucas and Amicia escape the underground and enter the dwindling daylight of the outside world, where I add 2 soldiers and 1 archer to my count. The rats emerge to make our path back home more difficult. Eventually we bypass them and the rest of the guards, but nearly being killed isn't what Amicia is worried about. She's more concerned with her brother's well-being now that the rats are back and their temporary peace has subsided. Lucas provides some encouragement because beyond this puzzle is Magister Vaudin, who compliments my murderous ways and gives me the title of Protector protect her. He orders Lucas to grab his shit and we make our leave, but not before Amicia notices the fresco Hugo has been describing from his dreams. Vaudin barges in and gets introduced to Hugo.
This is Magister Vaudin.
Silence.
But things aren't going as planned as Vaudin's procedure is causing seizures in Hugo. Beatrice sends us out to go find Nightshade to calm him down, so Lucas and I head out into the pouring rain. Amicia expresses her dislike for Vaudin's methods, and despite Lucas's sound reasoning, she wants to find the island Hugo has been seeing in his dreams. Our path is blocked, so now our only way forward is through a swamp of entrails, with rats waiting on the other side. The only way through is by using a pot and some ignifer to clear a path, and while rats may get killed here, I won't count them unless I can actually see the kills. Once we bypass all the rodents, the soldier comes at us looking to throw hands. Or spears, but he misses, so I show him how it's done, and add another 5 more soldiers of Provence on my way outside the city walls. We cut through abandoned homes to find people have been murdered and the rats have spread out here as well. I surprise a soldier who also surprises me, then increase my kill count up to 30 while adding an additional death as we watch the herbalist get slaughtered right in front of us. We continue on to his shack but can't locate the Nightshade. Eventually some more soldiers enter the area, but Amicia starts getting dizzy and shaky, prompting Lucas to volunteer to sneak by the guards, but he's no Emilio Lopez and gets caught, which leaves me to pick up the slack and do it myself. I show Lucas how it's done, sneaking by all the soldiers except for this nosy bastard that I killed in the most convenient spot possible. I kill Lucas's captor, which makes enough noise to bring more soldiers to us that Amicia wants to stay and kill herself. Lucas attempts to convince her to leave, but she's seeing red and antagonizing them as she ends their lives.
Yeah, just a kid that's killing you!
I take out 11 soldiers before being blindsided on my left and taken out, which forces me to start at the checkpoint and re-kill the soldiers again, this time adding 12. Eventually she proves Lucas right and gets them both caught. He scolds Amicia, who admits she's not herself.
I don't know what's happening to me, Lucas. I feel my mind going.
Charlotte McBurney returns in a truly awesome performance that shows the mental and physical struggles Amicia has to go through just to protect her brother. Luckily, Lucas has a plan to blow this joint before they're executed. He uses Stupefatio to temporarily stun the guards so we can make our getaway, and after another fun stealth section, we enter their warehouse to find my sling and the Nightshade. With more guards blocking the path out of the front gate, we use their ballista and some of Lucas's magic dust to leave and go back home, where Magister Vaudin tells us Hugo is reaching the final threshold and must be isolated, otherwise he's at risk of killing a lot of people as the macula drains Hugo of his own life. Amicia won't accept that and asks about the island.
It is a child fantasy.
So what's a child's fantasy doing on the wall of your laboratory?
Instead, he wants to take him to Marseille, where the Order's HQ is at. Beatrice sends us out to find a man named Joseph who will get us to Marseille, but the city is under lockdown, and Lucas lays out some ground rules that are counterproductive to this video's goal.
No more killing soldiers.
Alright, fine, Lucas. I won't kill anybody. On our way, some rats decide to say what's up and trap this soldier that requires some teamwork to get by the rodent horde. He decides to get brave when we're face to face, but I'm merciful and instead of killing him, I simply blind him using tar on his fire while he's still surrounded by rats. We find the boatman, but he got tired of waiting and begins to leave. He says he'll meet us further down, but there's plenty of soldiers in our way. Thankfully, Joseph is a sharpshooter and kills soldiers within his line of sight. I sneak or run by most of them except for this unlucky sap who gets set ablaze. We reach Joseph, but need the rest of our group to leave. Amicia heads into the city to retrieve them, but the rats are here to fuck things up. We outpace them, and once we get home, we run in on Vaudin continuing to be an absolute asshole, which is probably why no one gives a fuck when he dies. Amicia is able to pull Hugo out of his nightmare.
What happened?
Here, let me recap it for you.
No!
We walk through the devastation where we try to tell him none of this is his fault, while Logan Hannon returns to voice Hugo in another fantastic performance that makes the player feel awful for this kid's situation. We arrive at the boat where Joseph further proves Vaudin was an unlikable D-bag.
It's only us. Magister Vaudin.
I see. Let's not waste time then.
Hugo begs us to find the island, convinced that's what will cure him, but Beatrice wants to continue with the Vaudin plan, putting her and Amicia at odds with each other. Our path down the river gets blocked by some debris, setting Lucas and Amicia on foot to clear the way. The rats have been keeping pace with us and litter the passage up the river. I incinerate a couple of them and foolishly add a needless death to my count here. I jump down into the river and pull the corpse, preventing the chain from pulling the ferry to our side of the river. I take that to the other side of the river, and of course as soon as I'm gone, Lucas is getting harassed by some mercenaries on the other side, so Amicia acts quickly using a mounted crossbow and increasing the count by 2. Their leader Arnaud makes an appearance once we're ready to leave. Plenty of his men line the riverbanks, increasing my count by 25, but Joseph gets pricked in the neck, allowing them to pull our boat onto land. I add 4 more of the mercenaries before getting struck by an archer for my 5th death. When I reload, I add 8 men, then run over to the rope to sever it so we can continue on down the river, but Arnaud is waiting for me there. This MFer is knocking down trees, fully decked out in armor looking like the Mountain, and I'm not looking to get the Viper treatment, so I flee without a second thought. I lose him, but more of his men are hanging around. I immolate 2 of them using a combo of Tar and Ignifer, and shortly afterwards spot Arnaud going for the boat. That gives Amicia the courage she needs to take him head on. That's not what I had in mind, but okay. Before Arnaud can land a killing blow, Hugo comes to the rescue, sending rats after him. That frees the boat up as well, so Beatrice pleads for us to jump aboard, but this provides the opening we need to split off and locate the island from Hugo's dreams instead of locking him up in Marseille. Sometime later, we encounter a religious group in the forest and speak to their leader Perrault, and at the same time, soldiers under the order of the Count arrive searching for us. He leads us to safety, but they spot us right before we leave the area, exacerbating Amicia's head injury. We enter a quarry and utilize one of Hugo's newfound abilities that uses rats to pinpoint enemy location. We sneak through the quarry, killing just 1 soldier and 1 archer before finding safety where Amicia wants to take a quick concussion nap. Rats bust through the ground, making noise and attracting more soldiers to our location. Using the rats, Hugo sends them after the soldiers, adding 5 to the count and getting our total into triple digits, and also trapping 5 rats by some fire. On our way out, I do something incredibly stupid and try to walk through the fire I created to move the rats out of our way, and due to my impatience, I add another death. Before moving on, Hugo changes my bandage by giving me a new dyed headband, a location that was inspired by Asobo Studios' collaboration with Roxanne Chila, an expert in medieval history that was essential in making this game look and feel like something right out of that time period. Before we can leave the dye works, we kill 7 more soldiers using the rats, and then move forward to take on the Beast, the brutal leader of these men that falls with very little effort on my part. More like the least, am I right? Amicia keels over as more soldiers spot us. She tells Hugo to take control, adding 7 men to the count with his rat horde, but he goes overboard, bringing a metric fuckton of them to us. We push Hugo to safety, but Amicia gives up. While Hugo begs for her to keep trying, someone walks up behind Hugo, surprising him. I wake up to find that brick shithouse Arnaud is the one that saved us, and to Hugo's excitement, he claims to know where the island is. Amicia asks why he's suddenly helping us after trying to kill us.
The Count's army is at war with us.
The Count, you say? Arnaud leads us towards a ship operated by a smuggler acquaintance of his that will get us to the island of Cuna. We wade through some rat-infested caves without a single kill until we exit the cave and eliminate a small group of them I wasn't able to count because Arnaud blocked my fucking view, thanks. I bake 40 rats with some fire and add 3 soldiers using rats, forming a real positive give-and-take relationship with the critters as they increase my kill total in multiple ways. We enter Sophia's hideout, who says she's down to sail with us, but the Count impounded her ship, so we set out to retrieve it. We can command Arnaud to fight and kill enemies here, so between that, Amicia's weapons, and Hugo's abilities, we're well equipped to handle the 14 men I add to my total. We arrive at the ship and wait for Sophia, who gets attacked by a soldier, so Amicia rushes in and stabs him to death in a quicktime event. Saving Sophia's skin means she owes us a life debt in her eyes, so we move onwards onto the ship and set sail much to Hugo's delight. I spend some time talking with and learning about our crewmates until eventually we see the mountains of Cuna. Hugo, you seeing this shit? It's straight out of your dreams.
It's not important if I die.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. I thought you'd be hyped for this, Hugo. Okay, that's better. We step foot onto Cuna Island in an absolutely gorgeous landscape. Sophia warns us that this place is under the Count's jurisdiction, so I need to be careful, but I think we'll be okay under our new leader.
King Hugo!
We wander the island interacting with its citizens and gathering information that could point us in the right direction. We happened upon this place in the middle of a festival called the Brighter Days, where they worship the Child of Embers. The leaders of this festival are the Count and his wife Emily, but Arnaud doesn't care about any of it, and as he takes hold of Hugo and tells him to summon his rats to kill the Count. Arnaud says fuck it and decides to take him on with his sword instead, leaving us to run for it yet again. After dodging this Pidgeotto trainer in the making, we stop Arnaud from continuing the fight and earn a place to stay with Victor and Emily. During the house tour, they show us a stone tablet with the phoenix from Hugo's dream. After some sleep, we wake up and begin to explore on our own and encounter Sophia, who's pretty fucking chill after we got her homie Arnaud locked up.
And I like what I hear.
We begin exploring the island with Sophia, following the phoenix statues until we reach an old theater where we locate a map of the island that resembles the sigil of the Order. It points us in the direction of the tallest mountains here, but the way through is blocked, and as this goat herder explains, the Count and Countess are getting ready for a ritual that demands privacy. We force Hugo to get over his fear of goats.
Wouldst thou like to live deliciously?
and proceed onwards and upwards, sneaking by guards, using Sophia's prism to reflect light and cause distractions. Once up the mountain, we watch the beginning of the ritual giving off some major culty vibes. We steal some of their creepy ass clothes and join the circle. We slowly progress through the chambers, seeing evidence of the macula on the frescoes while these two talk at us. Like being chosen for the wand experience at Ollivander's, our excitement is unmatched as the Countess chooses us to carry their flame, but the excitement is extinguished right as our flame is, and we walk in on these eerie ass motherfuckers chanting all around us in the darkness. Finally, they illuminate the room, revealing the Child of Embers standing with a phoenix, but thank God Sophia retrieves us and gets us the hell out of there, and into a courtyard containing the tree from Hugo's dream. He looks mucho disappointed once he dips his hand into the dirty water and the macula is unfazed. Amicia finds the names Aelia and Basilius scratched into the back of the throne, the protector and carrier from long ago. Inside the structure, we discover lots of old equipment, revealing that Basilius was experimented on and observed by the Order without any mention of a cure. His treatment caused Aelia to rebel, who was arrested and taken to a tower nearby. Victor and Emily arrive in the courtyard to do God knows what, prompting us to sneak out of there. Hugo gets big sad because his dream didn't come true, learning a lesson most of us don't realize until after college. We head across the island, and after getting through an old crumbling tower, we pop out on the other side and spot a fort in the distance, but Sophia has a warning for us.
There's a storm coming.
Yeah, a storm of murder as we pass by some freshly killed bodies that some local slavers were leaving behind. Amicia falls through some decrepit wood right into the lap of one of the slavers, who rightfully gets put to the flame after a QuickTime event. I kill 6 more before we encounter their leader Milo, who is spilling blood trying to please the Child of Embers, which doesn't please Hugo. He summons his rats to kill the nameless slavers and receives a scolding from Amicia.
Hugo! You don't kill people just like that!
Why? You do it all the time.
Because
And I can kill quicker than you.
Sophia is over here like,
what the hell?
but she's our ride or die and is barely even fazed by Hugo's rat bending. We continue onwards, sneaking by most of the slavers, but still adding 5 of them to the count until this dude self-immolated out of guilt or something? Remy's family comes knocking, smelling plenty of food and spilling into the fort. I won't be adding any rats killed using Sophia's prism, but I do end up taking out 59 rats altogether. Once that area is behind us, we need to sneak by or kill more slavers, and this is a kill count, damn it, so I shoot this unaware fool in the back with my crossbow.
Yes, keep going.
Ask, and you shall receive. I incinerate a small pack of rats I couldn't count accurately, then proceed to the chapel to hopefully find some more clues. We channel our inner Nicolas Cage finding a treasure and some details telling us where they kept Basilius captive here on the island. Once we leave, Milo attacks us until he notices Hugo and bends the knee, which gives Sophia an opening to murder him. His men start rushing in, and while Hugo wants to help, Amicia is adamant about taking them on by herself, which leads to 3 deaths, but a lot more kills, totaling 24 slavers in all. Finally, Hugo gets tired of waiting and marches forward to send his rodent pals after the remaining men. Lil Man goes overboard though, earning himself a talking to from Sophia.
You need to seriously calm down and listen to what adults tell you.
We arrive back in the main part of the island to find Hugo's rats have overrun everything here as well. I had 26 rats, pushing that number over 200 on our way back to the old theater from before. We push a loose column over and onto the map below, caving in the rock and uncovering an underground passage that Hugo is afraid of.
It's too dark.
But the dark is afraid of you too. Just one light, and it's gone.
What the fuck did you just say to me? We progress down under, solving puzzles using Greek fire left over by the Byzantines, enjoying the peace from any enemy. Never mind. I kill a total of 126 rats in this room, along with a group of them containing an unknown amount, and then advance across the bridge and step onto the bones of some dead folks while Amicia rubs it in.
I'm alive.
Shit, now I'm gonna have flyleaf stuck in my head. We dive deeper underground until we enter a massive rat's nest while Hugo continues to build dread with his comments.
I feel funny.
Amicia jumps down into the nest to try and get the bridge up, and with the smell of fresh meat nearby, the rats come out to feast. I say F that and kill a few more of them before reuniting with Sophia and Hugo. We descend some stairs into a setting straight out of a Stephen King story while Hugo gets more and more scared.
Why are you doing this?
Finally, we arrive at the bottom level to find Basilius chained up by the Order, realizing the structure was built to contain the carrier and his powers, but it wasn't enough and marked the beginning of the Justinian plague nearly 800 years prior. As if things weren't dire enough, enough, the macula unleashes thousands of rats from their incubation chambers and swallows us in my 10th death. The second time around, we successfully escape that nightmare and head towards Sophia's ship. On our way to the harbor, one of the Count's men stops us to escort us back to the palace, stating our mom and Lucas have arrived. We follow him back there, seeing the accidental devastation caused by Hugo. We meet up with them and get reacquainted, catching them up on events and telling Beatrice that the Order had it all wrong, and the only way to keep the peace is by giving Hugo a nice stress-free life up in their mountain home. Can I come too, guys? A soldier comes in requesting Amicia's presence on behalf of the Count. He leads us there and Victor walks with us, exchanging small talk when we overhear the Countess telling residents the coming of the rats signals the arrival of the Child of Embers. He escorts Amicia through a door, pulling his sword and swinging. He misses and follows that up by Sparta kicking her down the stairs and injuring her shoulder. We inch backwards as he tells us Emily is sure that Hugo is the Child of Embers and that he made the whole religion up in order to give something positive to his wife after her terrible childhood ruined her. Amicia clocks him with the candlestick in the lounge. Aw man, I guess it was the rope in the study. She buys herself enough time to run, beginning the most intense chase sequence in the entire series. The Count catches and kills me twice before I get away. We cut to Emily and Beatrice outside, who is telling Hugo's own mother about motherhood when Amicia finally arrives and says what we all want to say.
Shut up!
Victor shows up and knocks me to the ground and makes a fool out of an injured Amicia and cuts her braid like a Dothraki. Emily tells Victor to stop it, which saves Amicia's life. Then she pulls out a knife and slits Beatrice's throat. We cut to Hugo waking up, and after a brief walk, he finds the aftermath of what just happened. They done fucked up and killed Mummy, and we know what that means. We get to murder these people with my rodent army, baby. I end up dying twice here, but in turn, I gain 64 kills by taking out the Count's soldiers with my rats, then finish this sequence by ending Emily's misguided life, and basking in the pain of Victor the asshole. The ground crumbles beneath us, and after a brief scare, Hugo begins coughing, but he's not all there as he gave into the macula and is now unresponsive. Lucas pops Amicia's shoulder back into place because she's going to need it if we're to leave this island. We're unable to find a way to climb out of here, so the only option is to go further down, where we come across an absolutely massive rat den that has Hugo talking again.
I'm home.
I don't know, man, this place needs a lot of work and its listing price is already pretty ridiculous. This place has a ton of rats, but I only managed to add 2 of them to the count as we sift through the endless piles of bones until we're forced to make a run for it yet again. Once outside, Hugo regains control of himself, allowing us to head towards the harbor. Plenty of the Count's men stand between us and the harbor, adding 7 of them to the count until we hear that Arnaud is said to be executed soon, setting us on a detour that has us tally up 22 more kills before freeing Arnaud from his noose. We arrive on Sophia's boat, which finally gives our 2 heroes time to mourn their dead mother. We're able to get some sleep and are nearing the mainland when the Count's ship comes flying up on us. Despite our best efforts, they catch up and ram us, sending Sophia and Lucas overboard and initiating another fight that sees me add 18 soldiers and accidentally getting Arnaud killed. My bad, dude. Hugo comes out of hiding, distracting Amicia enough to get Boromired, causing Hugo to try his finisher, but the Count is like, "Ya dunce, rats won't help you on the ocean." Then Judo chops him right in the neck. He admits to Arnaud that now that his wife is dead, he'll use Hugo's powers to conquer and leaves the burning boat. Arnaud tosses Amicia over the side, then dives in after her and brings her ashore. On the beach, the Count wants to continue the fight, but Arnaud is here now and is ready to cross swords. The Count orders his bitch-ass men to kill me, granting me the opportunity to add 21 more soldiers to the count and getting my total over 300. My kills were split in half by my final death of the game, ending that count at 15. During the fight, a bomb goes off in the nearby city of Marseille, signaling the Macula's full takeover of Hugo. After I kill his last man, Victor gets the upper hand over Arnaud, dealing a death blow that allows Arnaud the chance to pull Victor's helmet off and giving Amicia the shot she needs to nail that fool right in his forehead. Unfortunately, we can't savor the victory as Arnaud dies in our arms and Hugo is still acting a fool down yonder. We link up with Sophia and Lucas as they swam back to shore and we get in a horse-drawn carriage and move towards the city. We pass by the fleeing population, but the city is blocked, forcing us to go around while the city walls quake with rodent fervor. The largest rat horde yet comes at us like a tsunami, with the only thing to keep them at bay being a goddamn flamethrower on the back of our carriage. There's literally no way I can count any rats being killed here, so we'll just count it as a group. The rats knock a tower over onto our trio of brave souls, somehow failing to kill any of us. We gaze upon the devastation while Sophia is over here cracking jokes.
You came in the loveliest season.
We get further into the city and spot a giant pimple sending waves of rats out while Amicia tries to send Sophia and Lucas away. They're both in it for the long haul despite this massive wave of rats that sends us falling, injuring Sophia's leg and incapacitating her. We leave her behind while we go to rejoin Lucas, who fell a little further away. Lucas notices the rat waves follow the same pace, like a heartbeat, allowing us small windows of time to run to cover as we get closer to the giant pimple. We lose Lucas when we climb down the rubble, entering a weird dreamlike place that's eerily quiet. Amicia follows the phoenix statues like on Cuna, but this time that's the wrong thing to do as Hugo's voice comes in over the loudspeaker dropping hints on how to find him. The wind kicks up and we magically arrive next to a tower with some fucking skulls looking at us, spilling rats out of their eyes and mouths. They begin forming large human-shaped figures and inch towards me. I take down 20 of the rat men while Hugo tells me it hurts him to watch me fight all the time. They eventually overwhelm me and send me back to the phoenix statues. I head back, killing 7 more of the rat people before realizing I need to extinguish the fire instead of fight to progress. Hugo finally shows up, beginning an intensely emotional sequence masterfully done by the developers and lead writer Sebastian Renach. We walk with Hugo, witnessing death all around us, showing us what was and what will be if the macula isn't stopped. Hugo tells his sister she knows what has to be done to prevent the macula from continuing to destroy and kill.
Only you can stop me.
Hugo!
I love you. I've been happy with you.
Lucas pops up out of nowhere, giving Amicia the strength she needs to continue towards Hugo. We walk towards him, take out the sling, and grant Hugo's wish to end the macula and his life right there. The screen cuts to black and the credits roll while we process the magnitude of what just happened. Like the previous game, we have a mid-credits chapter, and that shows a short-haired Amicia at her family's mountain home meeting up with Sophia to begin another journey to find the next unfortunate kid afflicted by the macula. We find out Lucas is on the road, continuing his studies to become an alchemist. You can actually choose to have Lucas kill Hugo instead, which gives us some slightly different dialogue here that has Amicia resenting him for killing her brother. Before we leave, Amicia heads up the mountain to say her final goodbye to Hugo at his grave. She weeps as I weep, and we pull away as the credits roll, and once finished, we end with a scene showing the macula taking up residence in a newborn, leaving it open for a sequel while we look into the final numbers. I finished the game with 317 human kills, nearly 200 more than the previous game, and I ended up with 15 total deaths. That gives me a kill-death ratio of 21.13. I earned 382 rat kills, fewer than the 411 I got in Innocence, which I did not expect. Adding all my kills together brings that total up to 699, making my overall kill-death ratio 46.6. I completed the game in 16.5 hours, which gives us a kill on average every 1.42 minutes with rats and 3.12 without them. I died on average about once every hour. A Plague Tale Requiem improved upon everything the first game did, keeping the core gameplay intact while introducing more combat options to give the player more ways to defend themselves. I adore these games, and this entry is honestly the first game to actually make me shed some tears. Other games have come close, but this hit me harder, and that's due to the amazing efforts from everyone involved. I'm moving on to the new God of War game, so subscribe and keep an eye out for those in the coming weeks. I'm King Deschain, signing off for now.